Right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this last session of the conference. Before we start, in case you thought that we got plenty of time and an hour and a half for this session, thank you. In fact, the closing session will begin at 3 o'clock. So I understand that that is what it says on the web, but it's not what it says in your program. So it will be immediately following these talks. So this is just a 1-hour session. In this session, we're going to hear about 2 research projects which look at the whole scope of knowledge organisation. So that makes quite a nice conclusion to our conference. Both the papers explore the whole field and from different points of view. The first paper is going to inform us of a collaborative effort to attempt to propose a set of evaluation dimensions for the analysis of knowledge organisation systems and the resultant taxonomy that the team has drawn up. And we're going to hear the results of their project to date. Now, the team consists of 3 people who are led by Douglas Tutope of the University of Glamorgan in Wales. He is not able to be here today. Also on that team are Renata Rocha Souza, who's a professor at Minas Gerais University in Brazil and a visiting fellow at the University of Glamorgan, and his colleague Mauricio Barcelos Almeida, who is also at the same university, teaches there. And it is Renata Souza who's going to speak to us now. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. Although after lunch, many of you could prefer be taking a nap. I would like to say that this research was partly funded by our Brazilian government agency of research, the CNPq. Well, all of you know that the knowledge representation activity is in the core of many scientific fields, but it is paramount in the library and information science. I guess that our identity comes from it. That's my point of view. And we deal in our everyday activities with many representational artifacts, and they are known generically as knowledge organization systems, or COS, or KOS, but sometimes I think that the correct spelling would be chaos, because of the diversity and the many different points of view about them. Well, they vary enormously in structure and in display, but they do share some general and broad characteristics. They are used for many purposes, from knowledge representation, organization, management, information retrieval, vocabulary control, communication of concepts, and some others, like ontological agreements, and so on. But it's very difficult to define them. We have been researching for definitions, and one that we particularly like is the Gale-Hodges one. They encompass all types of schemes for organizing information and promoting knowledge management. They include classification and categorization schemes that organize materials at the general level, subject headings that provide more detailed access, and authority files that control variant versions of key information, such as geographic names and personal names. And they also include highly structured vocabularies such as thesauri, and less traditional, well, at the time of the study, schemes like semantic networks and ontologies. But it's a very arbitrary concept. I think that you may all agree on it. And our basic assumption on this research is that they are knowledge representation structures and they are used for knowledge organization, for information retrieval, and or knowledge management. And our main principle for classify them were the structure. So this is one simple graph that we made. I know this is barely a good representation, but it's difficult to represent the multidimensionality. But this is just a representation for you to have an idea of the many kinds of it. And I can know in advance that some of you may disagree of some inclusions, like concordance lines, like QUIC and QUOC being knowledge organization systems, and even the latent semantic index and the IR indexes in a general way. But if we abide to our definition, they are indeed. But this is a subject for discussion. And the main point of the paper was how to classify them and why should we. But I don't think I need to discuss with you why should we. But so let's stick to the classification. What are the dimensions we could use to classify them? We have a lot of previous work. I was looking for Mrs. Salaba and Mrs. Zhang, because many of you have worked on the field and on the subject. But I found that the work until the date, they tend to focus on some small subsets of the cause. They are only using one or two dimensions to compare them. They have great ambiguity on the meaning of the dimensions. They sometimes treat cause and the representational languages alike. And they are very machine-oriented when it comes to semantic. Like all the semantic is the semantic for machine. But semantic is not a term that we can consider just for semantic web things like. So the first spectrum I would like to show you is the August proposal. He treats the cause as having one dimension, and the dimension is semantics. And it uses strong semantics for a strong formalization, or in the other way, the semantic is related to machine understanding. I don't agree with this narrow vision of the term. And, well, Descartes et al. Also uses the same dimension. And as we can see in those proposals, a taxonomy or a thesaurus always have weaker semantic than any ontology. And this is not true. Sometimes we are talking about the structures by themselves, and sometimes we are talking about the instances. I can have an ontology with two concepts, and I can have a huge thesaurus with